Welcome back to Viking Football with head coach Bruce Barnum, back for another season as the Vikings get ready to open it up this Saturday at the University of Arkansas. Portland State playing an SEC program for the first time in history. That game will kick off at 1 p.m. Pacific time. It'll be 3 p.m. Central time at Arkansas. You can watch the game on the SEC network. You can also hear it. Go to govikes.com, click on live audio. You can hear the play-by-play there as well. And, Coach, as we get ready for Arkansas, I think the question everyone is asking right now is, what did you do this summer?
Got ready for Arkansas, Mike. I mean, we recruited all the way through it. It was a busy summer. Had some mishaps, early with some injuries, etc., that we had to recruit to. Two tailbacks just joined us, right before we started camp. One just got eligible today, waiting for his AA to post. So just filling the team with some holes to make sure we're ready to go this season.
I thought you'd throw out some boating trips you had maybe been on, something like that, but we'll move on from that. First and foremost, the thing I'm excited about, you talked about getting on a bus. The Vikings are going to charter a flight down to Arkansas and get ready, going to go down Thursday, a day earlier than normal, to kind of acclimate. Talk about that process.
We thought Reno, a couple games back, hurt us because we got down there and, the second half, we just, athletically, it looked like we were running in mud. So I didn't think the elevation would have that much of an issue. Now we're going down. The climate's a little different. There's a little humidity. So the heat's different. I want to get there Thursday, get them out in, acclimate them. We're going to show them a little bit of the South, more probably through their meals than anything else. We're going to get them some catfish and hush puppies and fried okra and some Gulf shrimp on Thursday, and then we'll get into game mode on Friday.
All right, we'll talk about Arkansas in just a moment, but let's talk about the Vikings as we go into this season. For the first time in years, you can say you've got a pretty experienced group, in particular on offense at the skill positions. You got a quarterback now with a lot of experience. You got a guy at tight end, Charlie Taumapea, who is very experienced. You've got a receiving group with experience, some running backs with experience. You have to feel good about those skill guys coming back.
I do. You see the maturity at practice. You see the type of student athletes they are, and they're bigger and stronger and faster, Mike. So I'm excited for that aspect, to see all of that. You watch us offensively now at practice, and it just looks right, compared to there's what about that? What about that last year? Or, oh, we need this position, or he's not quite, big enough or fast enough. So we fixed those things. And the offense right now, knock on wood, is running pretty smooth.
All right, let's look at the offensive line. A couple of studs back, guys who've anchored that group. Corbin Sorensen, Garrett Stoffer, we know about them. They'll be back. They'll be the anchors of the group. A couple of interesting stories on the offensive line. You moved Daniel Gianosa over from tight end. Looks like he might get the start. Larry Brister, who was originally a walk-on, was given a scholarship over the summer. He's a guy who's going to get a chance to play. So some interesting stories there in the offensive line. And if those guys are out there, quite a test for them playing an SEC program in their first starts there.
It is. You mentioned quite a few guys, but Larry Brister, I mean, what a story for Americana. Didn't play right out of high school. Talked to his high school coach, talked to us, decided to play football and get his education, and now is working to a starting role in a scholarship in the Big Sky in Division I athletics. That's pretty cool. Local guy, made good, but Daniel Gianosa, I think he's 7'12". We're big up front. We're much bigger up front, and adding Gio there, besides John Cron, the biggest man in college football, it is costing us. Meals now, team meals have been tripled, but it's going to pay off.
Vikings with a couple of guys on the offensive line that stand right about 6'10", so that'll be interesting to see this year. Go to the defensive line. Again, you've got some experience there now. In fact, if you look at those guys up front, a lot of experience. You go to the defensive backfield, virtually everyone returning there. Probably the question on defense is what's happening in the middle. Lost some middle linebackers, but the defense as a whole now, they've adapted to Payam Sadat's scheme, and one has to think they're pretty comfortable in that now.
It is. It's running well. It's adjusting. They're getting guys to football. They're getting guys, instead of thinking, they're reacting, which is critical in any defense. But up front, yes, I'm happy with where we're at. I like our depth. I like the guys there. In the back, we had to get faster. If we're going to mix in more man coverage than most people, you need speed, so we added that. I think it's a pretty cool deal at middle linebacker too. There's some young guys we recruited, very talented student athletes who might show up there for a start.
And if you take a look at it on the field this year, you'll see some perhaps true freshmen playing for the Vikings on defense to go with some guys with tremendous experience up front like Bartlett and Del Toro, and then in the defensive backfield, you got some corners that are back after a few years as well. So lots of experience on the defense, and that transitions us over to Arkansas. And we're going to talk about Coach Morris's program there. He's well known as an offensive guru, had great offenses at Clemson. Well, he came out of Texas high school, very successful as a Texas high school coach, went to Clemson as an offensive coordinator, tremendous success. SMU turned that program around, great offensive program there. And now he's come to Arkansas. He's rebuilding that program, and as luck would have it, he has a transfer quarterback coming in, a former quarterback of his at SMU. So talk about that offense and the challenges there.
First, Coach Morris, his resume beats me. So we're down one right now going into the game, but that's expected. Playing on the road.
We'll put the check mark next to Coach Morris.
He gets the resume, and his D coordinator too. I mean, his D coordinator, they get 2 check marks. That guy's a real deal as well. But he's known for what he does, and what he's done offensively. I know they just announced their quarterback. I think he's, from what we've seen of last year, personally, I think a big strength of theirs is their tailbacks. They have some real tailbacks, and they're deep at that position. That's not my focus. I work with offense, but just talking to the guys and seeing a little bit of the clips and talking about what we're going to do to certain formations and certain personnel. It's a challenge. Going against these two, Coach Morris and their D coordinator, it's a major challenge.
Well, talent is always the concern when you play a program at the FBS level and, of course, an SEC program. But really, as I look at it, you always think speed. Speed is going to be a huge factor in the football game. Conditions of the game, obviously, big crowd, potential heat and humidity. But how do the Vikings answer a team that's going to be probably the fastest team they'll see all year?
They will. Their speed, their size, their depth, honestly. You play an FBS team when I think that's one of the biggest keys. When their twos go in, there's not a lot of difference. When our twos go in, I got maybe a guy who doesn't have a scholarship from down the street. So you notice a bigger drop there, I think. But we have some things. We kind of have a plan for the FBS when we do play up. Starting pregame, you'll see a little change up, some things we're going to do just to try to start fast and last as long as we can in that game. Now, you get to the fourth quarter and it's close. Now it's advantage Vikes. We've done that 4 times playing FBS teams, and we won 2 of those. But if you get to the fourth quarter, I think that sideline starts kind of looking at each other and what's going on here. And when you're one play away and you can take some shots in that situation, they're not going to have a chance to catch up. That's when you see upsets happen. So who knows? The Vikes need a lot to go their way. Turnover, we need to win the turnover battle and all the things all the prognosticators put up on the board. But you never know. It's college football Saturday. You got to play the game.
All right, you talked about it getting to the fourth quarter and the keys to the Vikings getting to the fourth quarter. Obviously, probably controlling time of possession is very important. One little-known thing about Portland State, last year Portland State ranked 2nd in the nation in time of possession, and that can play a big role. You keep the other offense off the field. I know that's something you tried to do at Oregon last year and had some success with it. I would presume that's something you're going to try to get done this week.
It is. It's not like a focus, but when you look at us offensively, there was a concentration on third downs. That frustrates the defense, whether you're playing a lower level NAIA, Division II, etc. team, or the big boys, a Power 5 school like Arkansas with all this tradition. But it helps. I think turnovers in field position, probably jump ahead of that. That's how we beat the Pirate a couple years ago. We were giving them long fields, and then we got to switch up and change up the ball on turnovers and allowed us to be in that game and win it. So a lot that goes into it, you know. But again, the pageantry of that day, of this Saturday, our guys will be up for. You know, they all wanted to play there. All my guys want to play at Arkansas, so they get a chance. I gave them a chance this Saturday.
All right, that's exciting for the Vikings as they get ready to go to Arkansas. I'm hoping you have a good seat for me on the plane, maybe some catfish. Is that a promise?
Well, I think you'll be more impressed, honestly. They do noodle the catfish in the morning. That's what they were telling me. They noodle them that morning. Catfish noodled that morning. I'm going to the catfish hole down there. A friend of mine that's from down there recommended it, and then we threw the Gulf shrimp on there. You know, this Northwest, greatest food in America. Don't get me wrong, but those tiger shrimp get old. We're gonna give them some real seafood.
All right, the Vikings gonna have a whole different experience this Saturday when they play at the University of Arkansas. Kickoff 3 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Once again, that game televised on the SEC Network and also live audio at govikes.com. You can hear the game there. For all the information on Viking football, go to govikes.com.